Hey guys, Coach Shewmake here. I want to talk to you just a little bit about some math. I do a lot of reading, but I also do math, 5th and 6th grade math. Both grades can really use a little practice with what we're about to talk about. So this is really dealing with fractions, but not just adding and subtracting fractions, but how in the world do we take a fraction, and these are questions that are going to be on the math star, almost guarantee it. How do you go from a fraction to a percent? Well, you can memorize that conversion. How in the world do we get from a fraction to a percent? There are some conversions that you can memorize, like 1/5, the fraction 1/5 equals 20%. But if you're not sure what that conversion is, or you just can't memorize it, you can always convert it, and I like to teach it this way. If you start with your fraction, you just can't jump across the creek. This creek keeps us from going from fractions to percent, unless you just remember how to get there. But if you don't remember it, there's a way to do it. But you got to cross this little bridge here. I call this bridge the decimal bridge. All that means is that when we have a fraction, if we start with a fraction, we've got to cross that bridge to get across that creek and get to where the percent is. That bridge is a decimal bridge, which means to cross that bridge, you have to be a decimal. They won't let you cross it unless you're a decimal. So we have to convert this fraction first into a decimal. This is an example of a fraction, 1/2. How in the world are we going to convert that into a decimal? Well, this is the key here. You're probably not walking through the woods very far by yourself. In the old days, they used to ride horses, so we remember it this way. The man horse, a man riding that horse. So this is simple. Remember, if we're going to go from a fraction and we got to cross that bridge, we can't just walk across it. We need a horse to get us across there. So we convert that fraction into a decimal using man horse. And this is how it's done. The man is on top of the fraction. The horse is on the bottom of the fraction. If they get to a house, the man goes inside the house. Here's our house that we built. The man goes inside the house. That's the one. The horse is in the denominator. The horse stays outside of the house. And so we create a division problem, just like this one. 1 divided by 2. Now when we do 1 divided by 2, I'm going to do it right down here where you can see it a little bit bigger. When you do 1 divided by 2, 2 won't go into 1 because 1's smaller than 2. So we have to put a decimal behind the 1 and bring it up into our answer and add a 0 on the end of the 1 so that we can divide the 2 into it. Now 2 won't go into 1, so a lot of times what I do is I put a 0 in my answer to make sure that I don't use that place for another number. So I've taken that up with 0. So let's look at the next 2 numbers. 1 and 0, that makes a 10. Will 2 go into 10? 2 goes into 10 how many times? Well, you can skip count if you want. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. How many times does 2 go into 10? 5, that's right. So I put my 5 there. So the answer, 5 times 2 is 10, and we subtract that and you get 0. Your answer is 0.5 right there. So that is our decimal. Right there, 0.5. So we've now converted our 1/2 fraction into a decimal using man horse. So once we have that decimal right there, there it is, 0.5. We can take that answer 0.5, and somehow we've got to get it to the percent side. And all you have to remember, and we're moving to the right to get to the percent, all we have to do to get off of this bridge is move that decimal to the right. How many places? 2 places, all the time. Move that decimal 2 places. So if our answer is 0.5, and we move that decimal place 2 places over here, 1, 2, then we have to add a 0 right there, and our decimal ends up being right here. Our percent in the end will be 50, and you write it like that. So It's a very simple process if you can remember the steps. And here you go, let me get you a little bit closer to this. Remember that when you start with fractions, if you're not sure how to get to percent, remember the decimal bridge right here. And remember the man horse on the decimal bridge. He's right there. Was right there. Oh, there we go. Man horse on the decimal bridge. Man horse is what you do to convert the fraction into a decimal. Cross over the decimal bridge, convert it to a decimal right there. And as you move off the decimal bridge, when you're headed towards percent, you just have to remember to move the decimal 2 places to the right, and that'll give you your answer. You started off with 1/2, did man horse and ended up with a decimal of 0.5. Moved the decimal over 2 places as we moved to percent, and it gave you 50%. Easy process right there. Just remember the decimal bridge, and maybe that'll help you. Thanks.